They was going to put on an evening boxing show for the president.
It's like an exhibition?
Huh?
Kind of like an exhibition? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a show for the Washington, D.C. So they took us up there, and I think I don't know how many boxing matches they had, but anyhow, mine was the last one. And I got beat in Texas for the inter-service championship, and I was boxed this guy. I think it was the same one again, you know, for show. And it was almost over, and I got hit in the temple, and I went blind. I mean, I couldn't see it. Didn't hurt anything, but I couldn't see anything. First time only time I could ever remember that. I could just open my eyes. I remember I fell over to see if they opened, but I couldn't see it.
It was just black?
I just couldn't. It was just blank.
Did you fall down or anything, or just it was just your eyes?
I just stayed still. And when they rang the bell, jumped in the ring to stop, and they says, "Come over here," and I didn't know where to go. They had to come take me, walk me over to the corner of the boxing ring, and slap cold wash rag on my face, and I was all right. I could see her, it didn't hurt. They later said that it was a nerve. It was a pinched nerve on my eyesight.
Just stunned you for a second.
Anyhow, he got the win, and I was really disgusted because I was better than he was. So I got out of, and I went down to while they was closing. It was the last boxing match of the night, and I walked down. There's a pond or lake beside where it was an outdoor boxing match and everything. So, and I said, just leave me alone for a little bit. So I walked down to the edge of the creek or the pond, and was just standing there. In fact, I think I sat down. Yeah, I did sit down. They had an old-fashioned bench with cement and board made there beside the pond. And I was sitting there in it by myself. The other guys is over there. And President Eisenhower walked up behind me and laid his hand on my shoulder. And he says, "I'm President Eisenhower." And I just sat there. I can't remember for sure. But anyhow, I said, "Yeah, I know it." And I jumped up and realized who it was. It scared me, you know, after. And I said, "I'm sorry." He said, "Sit still," he said. He says, "I'm an old farmer too." He says, I was raised up out west, so he says, "I know what." I told him I was just a country boy. And he sat down and we talked about feeding baby calves, you know, and living on the farm and stuff. And he's just a plain ordinary guy, just like everybody else. And
you probably didn't realize what a big deal that was at the
no,
time.
it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything. I mean, I didn't even think much about it at all. I mean, but anyhow, he just sat right down on the bench beside me and talked to me just like we're just a couple of kids, you know, that were out or something.
Did he realize you'd gotten beat?
Huh?
Did he realize that you had gotten beat?
Yeah, he saw it. And they announced that I was all right. But the way I understand it, Mark, your brother, was in Washington, D.C. there somewhere, I don't know, Quantico, and they had a meeting or something, and Mark had his name on his shoulders. And this guy, I ain't sure how old he was pretty old, had to be. But he says, "House." He says, "I remember House used to box." And Mark says, that was my dad.
Oh my goodness.
So he remembered the name because Mark had it.
He'd have to have been your age.
Huh?
I mean, to remember that,
Yes,
because you
yeah,
were young.
And I don't know what he was doing there or anything, but Mark told me that it was strange that it was happened that way, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a small world. Really, wherever you go, you got to be careful because somebody might know
That's
you.
right.
So that's basically.
So when you, after you left the Marine Corps, did you still come up here and box some, or were
No.
you done?
No, I never boxed. President Eisenhower was the last boxing match I ever had.
That was a good way to end your career.
My graduate didn't want me to box, so it was her decision, and it was our decision.
That's a pretty good trade-off.
Yep. So I don't regret it a bit.